Hi friends, Mindy here. I have my flip through to share with you today. This is going to be the flip through of the notes that I took for Come Away and also the entries that I did in my Bible. This month I decided to work in this New Testament spiral bound journaling Bible from Crossway. And so, but I still wanted to have all of my notes. I enjoy taking the notes and taking all of the verses and writing them out and writing reflections on those and everything. And so that is what is in here. But I thought that I would just kind of go through entry by entry for the days and share with you what I did. And also, if you're not following me on Instagram, there are photographs of all of these pages over there. And I will link the playlist that has some of the process videos for this month as well in the description. So day one, it was just kind of the intro, and it's talking about there's no DIY for the believer. And so, you know, we can't do things on our own is basically what this is saying. And I have all of my notes, kind of some reflection here. I have a scripture on the back of this journaling card that's just tucked into this flashcard. And this is just a 2-page spread that I have for day one, which I journaled in Mark 6:31. This is kind of the main verse for this devotional, which is where Jesus is talking to them. It says, "Come away and rest." And so I have a little quote down here from another verse, and then I just used the pattern paper actually in the background here in one of the ephemera pieces. And then I used some watercolor from the Daniel Smith dot card to just carry that color all the way up to the top, because this is, you know, 8-inch paper, and this is obviously an 11-inch journaling Bible. So I wanted to just kind of add that. And then I added this piece, and then you kind of can't even really tell that there is a line there. So for day two, I'm in Romans for day two, and I will show you day two. This is all of the notes. This was one of the journaling cards from the devotional. And then I had this flap. This is actually when I set up my Traveler's Notebook, I kind of deconstructed it and added some paper back in. And so I used that for some notes. I used one of the file folders on the edge of the page so that it would be a pocket for both sides. And I have some song lyrics here, some other verses that just kind of went with this, and then just some reflections of my own over there on the side. And then I used this stencil this month with some texture paste and that I had colored, and I just made it so that it was kind of pointing at this verse because that is the area that I was focusing on. And then I have this little die cut down here, and I don't know if you can tell, but there's actually some embroidery floss that I put in there just to give it a little bit of texture, and just it's a fun little kind of surprise element. And then I included a couple verses from Psalms on this page simply because this is a New Testament Bible, obviously, and so I wanted to make sure that I had some of those references from this day in here as well. I did that on a few different entries actually. So day three, I am in 2 Corinthians, and day three does have a process video for it. It's one of the ones that I did for the kind of beginner Bible journaling series that I have on my channel. And I'm just kind of showing my thought process for how I work through this. Again, I'll put that just in the description if you're interested in checking that particular video out. But again, this is the back side of that file folder. So I have the flashcard here. I have all my verses written out. I have a quote that was from the devotional and Elizabeth Elliot, which is just a beautiful, I love this quote. And so I wanted to make sure to include it in here. And then some of the points that Judy made about seasons in our life. And so that is what this is. And then I have some other, just some thoughts on here. I used the big tile alphas for this, the title on my page. I had some embroidery floss. This was a lot of fun. I really liked the fall feeling of this particular entry. And then day four, let me show you my notes for this one. This is another one that had one of those pages that was kind of built in when I did the devotional, or when I set up the Traveler's Notebook, excuse me. I just added a few little stickers in here, and then I have, you can see my own notes kind of in a different color, just so I can kind of tell at a glance what's what. And then I have some verses here. This was an old stamp set that I used to get that little stitching effect. I have a couple of other scripture references here as well. So that is day four. But for the artwork for day four is another really simple page. I did refer to a verse in Genesis here. And then this is actually a page from a printable set that I have from ArtfulEra Gallery. and it's these beautiful embroidered images, and so they worked really well with this kit. And so I just cut that out and glued it on here, and then I have a little bit of a note down here in the bottom as well. Day 5 is called Jesus Cares. This one is another one where there's just kind of a lot of notes and things happening. So I have the ones from the flashcards. I have this little flip out section. I have a verse here. I added a journaling card in here with another verse. And then this is actually done as a pocket. So I have the scripture card there as well. So all of those are just notes for day 5, which I journaled in 1 Peter. And this is another one where I used that same stencil. I really love that stencil for a background. And I actually just did this with some Tim Holtz embossing glaze and the embossing dauber. So I just went over it and then added that into the background and added the pieces here. And then I have a little functional pocket with a little prayer on the back of that that's just sitting in there. And then I use those little mini stickers on these cute little like they look like passports, so just to add some interest to the front of those, and that just lives there in that little pocket. Day 6 is another one that had a paper kind of in the middle. This I loved. This was my favorite paper from the set of paper this month, and so I wanted to make sure that this was kind of the focus. So I just left this right in the middle when I rebound this book. And then I used the flaps on this side for day 6. I created a little pocket over here with the ephemera piece, and then just a little bit of definition and some scripture and some thoughts here. So let me show you where day 6 is. I have these labeled, so I'm sorry I have to go back and flip through back to in front, but I just felt like it was a better way to do this. If I can find day 6. Oh goodness, I know I have it marked. Here we go. Very next page. So this one is called, I have the title for this one as Come and Rest. And again, I used one of the pattern papers here, just a beautiful image of that embroidery. And I have some washi tape down here. I have the verse highlighted. And then I used the stamp set this month and just did a little bit of stamping in the background. And then I have a quote from Matthew Henry for this day from the commentary. So day 7 is kind of the back side of this. I have the little library card and some more notes, one of the little cute little stickers there. And it's called God's Gift of Rest. And again, I just used a pattern paper here. I really loved these scenes. They're just so detailed. And they really, you get the feeling of all of the stitching and stuff that's on there. So I, again, just used this whole thing. And of course, you know, 6x8 paper, I didn't want to cover up the verse. So I did just trim that down. And then again, use the watercolor up here at the top just to kind of trick your eye into thinking that it goes all the way, even though it really stops right here. And then I just have some reflection thoughts over here. And this is in Philippians. And then day 8, do that here. I'm sorry for the back and forth. I didn't know the best way to do this, but I used one of the flashcards here, and I have a bunch of notes tucked into this one, one journaling cards as well. And then when I was doing that other page with that texture paste, I had some left over, obviously. So I just pulled out my traveler's notebook and pulled to a random page and put it on here. So that's why I'm kind of like writing around it on here, but I just gave it a little bit of interest as well. So this one is called Songs in the Night, and let me find that one in here. I should have done a better job of labeling these. I'm sorry for the flipping. I hope that is not too annoying. For day 8, I actually pulled out a vintage embroidery pattern, and I just really liked it. It was a very big page, so I had to cut off part of the image, obviously. And then I just cut out these ephemera pieces really close so that there's no white on there, and I popped these up on some foam just to give them a little bit of dimension off the background. And then I have those clear alphas, again, the big tiles here, and then I used one of the labels for a quote. And then we're in Acts 16 on this day. This is talking about Paul and Silas. And day 9, I have another one of those half pages that I added a file folder to. So on this, so it's kind of a page and a half, And I have all of these notes and everything tucked in here. I made a pocket out of this journaling card. I have the flashcards tucked in there. And then let me flip to day 9, which is in John. And this one was done with some embossing glaze that I sort of tried to make an ombre look with. And so I believe this is the other one that has the video. It's the Hubby Dubs version of the process video. But so I stamped that stamp in the background, and then I added all of the different colors of Tim Holtz glaze, embossing glaze. And then so when that happens, you obviously can't put it back into the container, so I just mixed it into a little jar to keep it, and I will use that. In fact, I will show you another day where I did use the leftover bits. But I just love how this kind of ombre looked. I was really trying to mimic the picture here and the colors that were sort of flowing down through there. And then I just created a little cluster and used the watercolor. I did this a lot this month, using the watercolor to highlight the verse. This day was called You Are Held, and again, I have those tile alphas, those big tiles. I really love those big tile alphas. So day 10 is just on the back side of this. I used, again, that file folder as a pocket for all of the notes. This one is talking about our shepherd, and I journaled this one in Hebrews. This was another really simple day. I just used some of the pattern paper, and you'll see that the pattern goes all the way to the top. This is actually 2 pieces of pattern paper. Right along here is where these images were able to overlap, and so I just made sure to cut them to the same size, and I just layered them so that I would have a continuous all the way up, because this was another one of my very favorite pattern papers. I loved all of the little embroidery hoops on here. And then this little piece right here, but this was actually an ephemera piece, and I took it and I added clear packing tape to it to make it like a clear sticker basically, and then removed the backing, and then I glued this down to a piece of pattern or to a piece of fabric. And I don't know if you can really see the texture, but it makes it look really like a badge. You can kind of tell in the background there. So that was just a lot of fun. And then I just have this pocket with a note or a quote from Charles Swindoll from the Devotional just tucked in there. And then again down here with the highlighting with the watercolor. And day 11 is called Living Waters. And again, I have a journaling card here, and then I have one of the little library cards that I just had to add in as tip-ins because I had so many notes from this day. And I was running out of space in my in my traveler's notebook. So creating tip-ins is just an easy way to make sure you get everything kind of tucked in there. So you'll see there's like less stickers and things on this day because there's just so many verses for day 11. And let me show you day 11. We're here in John. This was another super simple day for me because this was really more about the study and the reflection. And so I just used one of the journaling cards, and I loved the journaling cards. I thought they were so fun and so cute with all the little embroidery. So I just used that as my focal image. I do have a little bit of a background here with some distress crayons, and I just chose to do more reflection. And then kind of my main takeaway from this day was talking about living water. And so I just put drink deeply, and that is from the big tile alphas as well. I did add a couple little stickers here, but overall just a super simple day for 11. But I actually really enjoyed that day because there was so much reflecting that I was doing and studying. Day 12 is we have a rock, and so I have another little file folder here that I have some more notes tucked into over here. I actually have these clipped because for whatever reason they just want to keep falling out of this little folder. And then I go in the flashcards, and then a quote from Psalm in there, and Psalm 61. And so you'll see that I actually have that as well. Oh my goodness, where's day 12? Again, I apologize if this flipping back and forth, and this is a really big Bible, so flipping back and forth is kind of difficult. But anyway, in 1 Corinthians here, 1 Corinthians 10, and this is an old stamp, the license plate that I just used some of the stickers to kind of add the title in there. I have one of the ephemera pieces, one of the little washies, and then I have a couple of psalms here that are really kind of just my constant prayer. And then I actually have some song lyrics here again. So a lot of times some of these devotionals really just kind of bring up song lyrics and things in my mind. And so a couple of different times throughout this month, I actually just went ahead and journaled the song lyrics because they kind of speak to what we were studying for that day. So that is what is on there. Don't be afraid to include, song lyrics and prayers and all kinds of things, whatever makes this more memorable really for you. Day 13 is talking about the balm of Gilead, and it's called There Is a Balm. So I have this on this page and this kind of half page. Created a little pocket here for some more notes, just kind of trying to make sure that I had all of the space that I could because I was running out. And again, so you have to be creative. And so when that happens to me, I just make pockets out of things. So this is day 13, journaling here in Mark. This background was done with one of the stamps and the embossing glaze. And the embossing glaze that I used was actually those leftover bits. And so it's really, really hard to tell on camera, but in person you can actually see the flecks of the different colors when you're up close to this. Overall, it kind of reads as that green kind of teal color, but because they don't actually melt together, you do actually kind of see the different colors in there. And then I just created a couple little clusters, a little quote. This is actually from the devotional. And then I have that again highlighted over there. And then day 14 there was a lot of verses for day 14 as well. So I have the cards here. I have all of the verses written out. And then on the back side, you'll see the last of those notes as well. And then this is all I had left for my traveler's notebook that I did was this one little kind of quarter sheet of paper. And I included one of the little, on the top of the sticker sheets, there's those little Bythewell4god trucks. So I wanted to make sure and include that in there. So that is for day 14, which is here again in Matthew. And I just put on here that he cares. This is talking about the sparrows, that you're more value than many sparrows. And I wanted to reference that verse in Isaiah 40 about, you'll mount up with wings as eagles, because that's mentioned in the devotional. So I just have that part written out here. And then again, this is a piece from the pattern paper. This one is one of the ephemera pieces, and I just popped this up on some foam just to give it a little bit of dimension off of the background, and just kept it super simple. Again, did that same thing where I took the watercolor, blended it out to the top just to make sure that make this kind of look like it's continuing all the way up the page. And so with that, I am finished with Come Away. You can kind of see for 14 days, my little journal isn't too bad. It did get a little bit chunky, mostly from the days where I added the foam, but this was a beautiful devotional, timely, I really felt like. And so anyway, if you wanted to see some of the close-up pictures, like I said, you can see those over on Instagram. If you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.